Everybody tells you the same thing. Save more, invest consistently, live below your means, let compound interest do the work. Great. But there's one question almost nobody answers. How long does it actually take? If you're starting from zero and investing $500 a month, when do you hit your first $10,000? When do you hit 100,000? And when do you finally reach 1 million? Because here's the part nobody likes to tell you. It's probably going to take longer than you think. But once you see what happens after your first $100,000, you'll understand why the people who build wealth aren't necessarily the people who earn the most. They're often the people who simply stay in the game long enough. So today we're going to build the entire roadmap, starting at zero, year 1, year 3, year 5, year 10, all the way to $1 million. And I'm going to show you something even more important. Which variable can cut years off that timeline? Let's do the math. First, we need to make this realistic. I'm going to assume three things. You start with $0 invested. You invest $500 every month. And for illustration, we're going to assume an average annual return of 7%. Now, very important. The market does not give you 7% every year. Some years will be incredible. Some years will be terrible. And some years your account may actually lose money. We're using 7% as a planning assumption to demonstrate long-term compounding, not as a promise. Taxes, inflation, fees, account type, and the exact timing of returns can also change your real results. But keeping the assumptions simple lets us answer the question we're actually interested in. What does the journey look like? And here's where it gets interesting. Because wealth does not grow the way most people imagine. It doesn't look like this. $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. It starts painfully slowly and then gradually accelerates. That's compounding. And understanding that curve may be the difference between quitting in year 5 and becoming wealthy later. Let's start with year 1. You invest $500 every month. That's $6,000 contributed. With our hypothetical 7% return, you'd finish the year with roughly $6,200. And you're probably thinking, that's it? I sacrificed for an entire year, and I have $6,000? Yes, and this is exactly where people misunderstand wealth building. Your first year isn't about compound interest. Compound interest barely matters yet. Your biggest wealth building machine right now is you. Your income, your savings rate, your ability to consistently move money from your paycheck into assets. That's the engine. And this is why your first $1,000 matters so much. Not because $1,000 will make you rich. It won't. Your first $1,000 proves that your financial system actually works. Then comes $5,000, then $10,000. These aren't just financial milestones, they're psychological milestones. You're becoming someone who owns assets instead of someone who simply spends income. And that's a massive shift. At $500 a month, you'll reach roughly $10,000 somewhere during your second year. And here's something I want you to notice. At this point, almost all of your account came from you. Your contributions, your paycheck, your discipline. Compounding is still barely helping. This is why the beginning feels so frustrating. You hear people say, make your money work for you. Meanwhile, you're looking at your investment account thinking, my money needs to start working harder. But it can't, not yet. Because compounding needs something before it becomes powerful. Capital. 7% of $1,000 is only $70. 7% of $10,000 is $700. 7% of $100,000 is $7,000. 7% of $500,000 is $35,000. Same percentage, completely different outcome. That's the game. Your job in the beginning isn't to become rich. Your job is to build the pile of money that compounding can eventually work on. Now let's jump forward. After 3 years of investing $500 every month, you'd have contributed $18,000. Your hypothetical portfolio would be worth roughly $20,000. So the market has added only around $2,000. And this is important because I don't want to sell you a fantasy. At this stage, compound interest is not some magical money machine. You're still doing most of the work. And psychologically, years 2 and 3 can actually be dangerous. Because you've been doing everything right, but the result still doesn't look life-changing. You might see someone buy a new truck, take an expensive vacation, upgrade their house, and you're sitting there with $20,000 in an investment account. Nobody sees it, nobody applauds it. It doesn't make you look rich. But something much more important is happening. You're building the foundation. And foundations are boring until you see what eventually gets built on top of them. After 5 years, you've personally contributed $30,000. your portfolio would be worth roughly $36,000. Now think about this. 5 years, 60 monthly investments, and you're still nowhere near $1 million. This is where a lot of people start thinking, what's the point? And this may be the most dangerous moment in the entire journey, because you're doing the right thing, but the reward still looks small. This is where lifestyle inflation starts whispering to you, you deserve a better car. You've been responsible long enough. Just skip investing for a few months. And sometimes life genuinely does happen. Medical bills, a job loss, a new baby, a broken car. That's why investing shouldn't exist in isolation. Before putting every available dollar into the market, you generally need a financial buffer appropriate for your situation. Because the best investment strategy in the world doesn't help if one emergency forces you to sell everything. The goal isn't perfection, the goal is staying in the game. Now watch what happens. 10 years. You've contributed $60,000. Your hypothetical portfolio is now worth roughly $87,000. Now we're getting somewhere. About $27,000 of that isn't money you directly deposited. It's investment growth. Your money is finally starting to become a meaningful contributor. But there's something even more interesting happening. Suppose your portfolio grows 7% during a hypothetical year. 7% of $87,000 is more than $6,000. That's roughly equivalent to an entire year of your original $500 monthly contributions. Think about that. In the beginning, you were doing almost all the work. Now your portfolio has reached the point where a good year in the market could potentially add as much as you contribute yourself. That's a major turning point. Not because you're rich, but because you've finally built a second engine. Engine number 1, your paycheck. Engine number 2, your capital. And now they're working together. This is why I want you to stop obsessing over $1 million for a second. Your first major target might be much simpler, $100,000 invested. Because something changes around 6 figures. At $10,000, a hypothetical 7% year is $700. At $100,000, it's $7,000. That's more than an entire year of $500 monthly contributions. At $200,000, $14,000. At $500,000, $35,000. Now you can see why wealthy people appear to have an unfair advantage. Capital creates more capital. But here's the part people forget. You have to build the original capital first. That's the hard part. The first $100,000 requires saving, sacrifice, increasing your income, avoiding lifestyle inflation, and continuing when the numbers still look unimpressive. After that, the math gradually becomes more powerful. Now let's answer the question from the beginning. If you start from zero, invest $500 every month, and hypothetically average 7% annually, how long until you become a millionaire? Not 10 years, not 20 years, not even 30. It takes approximately 37 years. And I know what some of you are thinking. 37 years? Good. Because this is exactly why this video matters. I'd rather show you the uncomfortable math than sell you a fantasy. At around year 15, you'd have roughly $158,000. Year 20, $260,000. Year 25, $405,000. Year 30, $610,000. And around year 37, you cross approximately $1 million. Now look at the curve. The first $100,000 takes years. But the journey from $500,000 to $1 million can happen dramatically faster. That's compounding. Slow, 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 then increasingly powerful. But here's the part that changes the entire story. You are not stuck with a 37-year timeline. Because there's another lever. Let's change only one variable. Your monthly contribution. Instead of $500, what happens if you invest $700? Your path to $1 million falls to roughly 33 years. Now try $1,000 a month. You could reach approximately $1 million in around 28 years. Same hypothetical return, same basic investment strategy, different savings rate. And this reveals something extremely important. Especially during the early years, your savings rate can matter more than obsessing over investment returns. People spend hours trying to find an investment that might return another 1%. Meanwhile, increasing their monthly investment by $100 or $200 may have a much larger impact on their long-term outcome. So instead of asking, how do I find the perfect investment? A better question might be, how do I create another $200 a month to invest? Maybe it's reducing an expense, maybe it's negotiating your salary, maybe it's changing jobs, maybe it's freelancing, maybe it's building a side income. Cutting expenses has a floor. Your income has a much higher ceiling. And that means one of the most powerful wealth-building strategies isn't finding the next hot stock. It's becoming more valuable. Now maybe you're watching this thinking, 500 a month isn't realistic for me. That's okay. Let's run the numbers. At $300 per month and the same hypothetical 7% return, you're looking at roughly 44 years to reach 1 million. Is that slower? Absolutely. Is $300 worthless? Absolutely not. Because the alternative isn't $300 versus $1,000. For many people, the real comparison is $300 versus zero, and zero never compounds. Start where you are, then work on increasing the number. 300 becomes 400, 400 becomes 500. Maybe a raise turns $500 into $700. Maybe eventually you're investing $1,000. Your contribution doesn't have to stay frozen for the next 30 years. In fact, for most people, it probably shouldn't. Your income may change, your expenses may change, your goals will change. Your plan should change with them. But there is one thing that can destroy all of this, and it's not a stock market crash. It's interrupting the compounding machine. Imagine reaching $100,000 and deciding, I'll just take $40,000 out. New car, home renovation, lifestyle upgrade, whatever. You didn't just spend $40,000. You also removed decades of potential growth on that $40,000. That's the hidden cost. Now, I'm not saying never spend your money. Money exists to support your life. But every dollar needs a job. Your emergency fund has one job. Money for a house has another job. Retirement investments have another. The problem happens when we mix them together. If you're investing money you'll need next year, you're creating a future problem. And if you're constantly rating long-term investments for short-term wants, compounding never gets enough time to become powerful. So now comes the obvious question, where does the money go? You do not need 15 different investments. You do not need to predict which company will dominate artificial intelligence. You do not need to stare at stock charts every night. For many long-term investors, a diversified, low-cost index fund can be a simple starting point to research. That could include an S&P 500 index fund or a broader total market fund. The important concepts are diversification, low costs, consistency, and an investment that matches your time horizon and risk tolerance. The exact fund is less important than understanding what you own and why you own it. And before investing, understand the account you're using. A taxable brokerage account is different from a 401k. A traditional IRA is different from a Roth IRA. Employer matching can also dramatically change the math. So don't blindly copy somebody's portfolio from YouTube, including mine. Learn the basics. Choose a simple strategy you understand, then stick with it. If I were starting from zero, I'd make this extremely simple. 3 buckets. Bucket 1, operating money. This is your checking account. Rent, food, utilities, normal life. Bucket 2, safety money. Your emergency savings. This money protects your investments from life. If the car breaks tomorrow, you don't want to sell stocks during a bad market just to repair it. Bucket 3, wealth money. This is the money you invest for the long term. Once money enters this bucket, you treat it differently. It's not vacation money, it's not car money. It's not I had a stressful week so I deserve something money. It's future freedom. And ideally, automated. Every payday, income arrives, your investment happens automatically, and then you live on what's left. That removes one of the biggest weaknesses in any financial plan, human behavior. But there's something else we need to talk about. Because after showing you all these numbers, I don't actually think $1 million should be your ultimate goal. Think about why you want the money. Is it really because you want 7 digits on a screen? Probably not. Maybe you want to stop worrying every time the car makes a strange noise. Maybe you want the ability to leave a toxic job. Maybe you want to help your kids. Maybe you want to take care of your parents. Maybe you want to wake up Monday morning and know that nobody owns your time. That's what you're actually buying. Options. Money gives you options, and options create freedom. That's why your number might not be $1 million. It could be $500,000. It could be $2 million. It depends on your lifestyle, age, spending, location, family, taxes, and goals. The point isn't to worship a number. The point is to build enough financial strength that money stops controlling every decision you make. So here's the truth about becoming a millionaire. There is no magical moment where everything suddenly becomes easy. At first, you do almost all the work. You earn the money, you save it, you invest it, and the results feel painfully small. Then slowly, your money starts helping. $10 becomes 100. Hundreds become thousands. Thousands become tens of thousands. And eventually, your money can produce more money in a year than you were originally investing yourself. That's the part people see. What they don't see are the years before it. The boring years, the years where nothing looked impressive. The years where someone kept investing anyway. That's the real secret. Not intelligence, not predicting the market, not finding the perfect stock. Time, consistency, and increasing the gap between what you earn and what you spend. So don't ask yourself, can I become a millionaire? Ask yourself, what happens if I keep doing this for the next 10 years? Because whether your starting number is $300, $500, or $1,000, the most important contribution you'll ever make is the one that turns this from an idea into a system. Start there, then let time do what time does. And if you're starting today, tell me in the comments, what's your number? $300, $500, $1,000? And if you want, in the next video, I'll show you exactly how much you need to invest every month to reach $1 million by age 40, 50, 60, or 65. Subscribe so you don't miss it. I'll see you in the next one. This video is for educational purposes only and isn't individualized financial, tax, or investment advice. Investment returns aren't guaranteed, and actual results will vary.